Welcome back to Leading Edge. I'm Jerry Anderson. Ohio's reputation as a bellwether state seemed to take a little bit of a hit when Donald Trump won going away in 2016. Yes, I mean, he carried Ohio and he won the White House. But it was so red that many of the experts said, Ohio, I don't think they're a bellwether anymore. They're deep red. They don't represent the country. But in our area, one county that turns up on national lists as a significant, their words, not mine, significant bellwether county on a short list of about 25 such counties in the country is Wood County, Ohio, going all the way back to 1964. Guests here, they weren't even born. I was 11. Okay, going all the way back to then, Wood County has voted the way the country votes for the White House all but one time. That was 1976. And its bellwether status has been on a perfect run since 1980. Whether a Democratic win nationally or a Republican win. I want to welcome in Wood County's Republican Party chair. That's Jonathan Jakubowski. Wave up there, Jonathan, so we all know he's up there. All right. And also Mike Zickar is here, Democratic Party chairman right down there. Guys, good to have you here. Bellwether status, I should say. We don't know as we record today whether that stays in place. Folks, we're recording late in the week. I see the crossed fingers from Mr. Zickar down there. We don't know, but we can still, I think, explore this subject. Mr. Jakubowski, what happened in Wood County on Tuesday?
Yeah, Wood County, it's bellwether in the state of Ohio. So as Wood County goes, so goes Ohio. And that's exactly what we saw. Ohio won by 8 points. Wood County was just north of 7 points for the president. So it reflected what it has in the past. And as we've talked about, there's a lot of various shifts that reflect the state of Ohio. And I think Wood County just represents the state of Ohio so well broadly that once again, it reflected that status.
Mike Zickar, what happened on Tuesday?
Well, tough night for Wood County and Ohio. We wanted to be part of what we think is going to be a Joe Biden win, and we just didn't participate in that. Looking at, we talk about this urban, suburban, rural divide among the parties, and it played out in Wood County. I've been looking at the precinct results. I know they're unofficial right now, and I'm sure John has too. And Biden won big in Bowling Green, very close in Perrysburg, which used to be a Republican stronghold. So we see some suburban shift there. And then he got killed in the rural areas.
It's all Trump. It's all Trump in the countryside. And folks, Wood County has a lot of countryside, and may I add, outstanding farmland.
Yeah, I'll share this anecdote with you and John that we've been putting up lots of Biden signs, of course, in Bowling Green, and historically a ton in Perrysburg. So I was feeling pretty good about the election. I drove down to Lucky, Ohio, to put a few Biden signs down, and all of a sudden my enthusiasm was chastened.
Trump fans everywhere. Yeah. Bellwethers, the reason they are, I think, is they tend to reflect society as a whole. But think about it in Wood County. There's really no urban center in Wood County. We don't have a large minority population. The county seat, Bowling Green, long a Republican stronghold, has certainly turned more Democratic. Mike Zickar just said Joe Biden carried Bowling Green. BG's mayor is a Democrat these days. I know some might say, oh, it must be the college kids, right? They vote Democratic, but is that it? I mean, how many college kids vote in BG as opposed to maybe absentee back in their hometown, their home address?
Yeah. So go ahead, Mike.
It changes year to year. In presidential years, we'll get more votes out of the students here. And I haven't really monitored that in terms of the precinct returns this time. But given the pandemic and we have fewer students on campus, that was a big concern for us that we were going to lose about 500 votes maybe because of that. But I think Bowling Green has last 20 years trended Democratic on almost all elections. And some of it is because of the faculty and staff and the people who want to live in a university town as much as the student vote.
I want to get John back in here. Again, bellwethers reflect society, and yet you look at the demographic makeup and some of the other things that Wood County doesn't necessarily look like the rest of the country, but man, it votes like the winners do in the country. John, why is that?
So Jerry, I did an investigation of this in my book, Bellwether Blues. I investigated what are the factors that cause Wood County to swing, why it represents Ohio so well. And I identified four. Mike just talked about the students and the faculty of Bowling Green. And not every state or not every county has a university, so that makes us reflect somewhat of what an urban vote would look like.
Okay.
Even though we don't have an urban city here, it makes us reflect that because it's going to be largely blue. The second factor is this growing suburban population, housed in Perrysburg, but growing throughout the county. I think the county is doing very well, prospering. So there's a lot of people that are coming into the county as the population grows. That's a big shift. Young moms and dads, a lot of millennials. The third demographic is that rural vote that you just talked about, where I think the 23rd largest county by population, but the 7th largest in geography. So a lot of farmers, a lot of agriculture, very, very red, as Mike just noted.
Oh,
and the final demographic that made Wood County shift in 16 and held strong again in 2020 is our blue collar perimeter. There was a major shift in the blue collar vote, and that represents the state of Ohio very well as you look at the northern part and the eastern part of the state. So those are the 4 factors that I looked at in Bellwether Blues that cause us to look like a bellwether.
I want to pick it up right there because we know places historically, correct me if I'm wrong, Rossford's going to go Democratic, right? Fair?
Not necessarily.
Oh,
Yeah, historically, yes.
Sure.
Rossford and Northwood and Walbridge were some of our strengths, but and I don't know what the final count was, Biden versus Trump and Rossford, but it was very close. 20 years ago, it would have been a landslide.
would have been all Biden. Well, I want to do this then too. I'm thinking of places that now sprawl out, and Jonathan just hit on it. People are coming in and, buying houses, building houses in Wood County. Come on in, folks. The water is fine in Wood County. I mean, that was a pretty good line. I didn't mean it to come out there.
Hey, my water is from Toledo, though. I live in Perrysburg.
And your water's fine too. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking now that places that sprawl, and we heard so much about suburbs in the national coverage this week. Let's talk about places that are sprawling out to townships like around Perrysburg. What are we seeing there in terms of their political allegiance and where we think they're going to go in future elections?
Perrysburg is a work in progress right now. 20 years ago or 15 years ago, when I got involved in local politics in Wood County, it was the heart of the Republican Party in Wood County. And now we have a Democratic mayor and close to a majority on council who are registered Democrats as well. And it's an area that's really in flux. It's an area that, like John said, new families coming in that don't have this historic allegiance to the parties that have historically been here in Wood County. And so it's a work in progress. It's an exciting area for us and as Democrats to make progress in.
Well, let's bring John back in because John, Bowling Green, we agreed the Bowling Green, the city, okay? The county seat, pro-Democrat, okay? Historically, Perrysburg, staunch Republican, and Mike Zickar says, less and less and less. Shed no tears for Brother Jakubowski over here. Just about every county-wide office is held by a Republican, isn't that correct? But does that provide a concern for you in the Republican Party?
So I think what Mike says is the battleground, and as demographics change, you have to be effective at your campaign strategies. And we're not going to unveil those, obviously, here together. That's our strategy.
Feel free, John. Go ahead.
Okay, very good. Here you go. Here's my game plan. Here's the playbook. One thing I will say, Mike and I are on the same side of this. Our Falcons lost to the Rockets. So we're on the same side on the L column today. So I'm feeling a little rough after that. But anyways, yeah, it's definitely a battleground, and it's a place that we're looking at. How can we be more persuasive and eloquent? And again, my analysis goes back to how do we persuade the millennial vote? Millennials are aged between 24 and 39 years of age, and a lot of them are flowing into our county because of the school systems, because of the peace, the general economic growth. So it's really our duty to try to persuade them. That's one of the things we're working on.
Go ahead, Mike.
And I wanted to also talk about the rural area, which went heavy for Trump.
Huge.
And they tend to go Republican time in, time out. What I wonder is when Trump is not on the ballot, if it's going to be as heavy as it was these last 2 presidential cycles. So there seems to be this affinity that many of the people out there in the smaller communities and in the townships outside of not connected to Perrysburg or Bowling Green that really have a lot of resentment to DC and to other areas. And Trump just stoked that like a master in many ways, even when some of his policies might have been undercutting
And we've
the
talked about that.
livelihoods.
Yeah.
So maybe just a response to that real quickly.
quick, John.
I think one of the things we were wondering in the midterms of 18 was, would that vote come out? And it didn't come out to the same extent it did in 16, but it certainly did favor us. And we were pleasantly surprised at how well we did in midterms when Donald Trump was not on the ballot. So I think there were some policies that he did bring about that have made a difference. For example, returning NAFTA and canceling NAFTA and bringing about the MTA and America First policies internationally that had an impact. And once again, it's one of the strategies that we have as a party is to communicate to the needs that these voters have, what issues they care about at a local level and at a national level.
We're going to call it right
all
there,
across
guys.
the county battlegrounds.
For time, we have to call it right there. I didn't take you down the path of Arizona, in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Michigan, and all that stuff, because as we are talking on this day, folks at home, that is all in the state of flux. And I'm sorry to say, I think we've got days, weeks, maybe months ahead of us of litigation. I just wanted to focus on Wood County. Is it a bellwether? Well, bellwether again? Well, Donald Trump hopes so, because he carried Wood County, Ohio, and he hopes to return to the White House. And I think there's going to be some time between now and when we actually know how to work. John Jakubowski, Mike Zickar, thanks for what you do. These guys can just go at it on policy, but then shake hands, walk away, serve on the Board of Elections. I think most of us wish Washington could do that. Thanks for your leadership, guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Okay. And I'll be right back.